Three Corners is just your average small town, standing on the banks of a flood-prone river with a large pub anchoring the village at a once-famous three-way intersection. Now it's simply convenient, as people chase the country dream, the country lifestyle, just not the unceasing agricultural workload. Three Corners proudly supports a post office, a bakery, a cafe, a bookshop, a grocery store, gelateria, a few antique shops, and the usual high-end art and stylish home stores peddling the trend without the substance. Population 2,000-ish. But like all small towns, scratch the surface and you'll be surprised at what you find underneath. In that sense, Three Corners is really no different to any other small town I know. Except perhaps for some of the characters you might meet. Guerilla Gardening. It started as a single flower in the barrenness. No one noticed how it got there. No one knew anything when the landlord went a little crazy about it. But it grew. The flower grew, and it was joined by another, a small hydrangea bush, a patch of violets. Every time the landlord removed them, they'd return, brighter and bigger. For months, the landlord locked horns and battled the mysterious midnight gardener. He hid overnight but never found the person responsible. Tried getting the tenants to rat and turn on each other. Threatened rent hikes, access restrictions, but no information was forthcoming. No one knew who was responsible. He had mass inspections of all the flats surrounding the courtyard. Nothing he discovered indicated that anyone living there was responsible for the growing garden. He put security locks on all the gates with private access codes that he changed twice a day, and still the garden grew. One day, he walked into the courtyard to find the most incredible magnolia tree, his mother's favourite. From that day, he conceded a loss, and for 10 years since, the garden has grown, flourished, seen seasons pass, reflected the family of the tenants that it was built for. Sometimes you would glimpse a cat under the small hedgerow, a family of birds in the tree, a nest would appear, and they saw the mating dances. The tenants checked every day for eggs, and then the eggs every day for cracks. And when the chicks appeared, they called out to each other, woke people up so everyone could come out and see them. It brought the 10 apartments together. They spent evenings out there barbecuing, exchanging recipes, looking after the children collectively and helping them through school. One tenant was an engineer. He wasn't home much, but tutored the older kids in maths. There was Nonna on the bottom floor who mothered everyone wholeheartedly. If someone was sick, there was always someone to keep an eye out on them. Few moved. The apartments became sought after and the tenants had a right of veto over new residents. And still the garden grew. Newcomers were always taken aback by the garden. They'd move closer, peer intently, and slowly hold out their hand, expecting to touch the soft velvet petals, instead finding the grainy hardness of brick. A mural garden. A mural that changed with the seasons, flooded with poppies on Anzac Day, carnations on Mother's Day, roses on Valentine's. A picture garden that grew a community who braved the landlord to put pot plants out in the courtyard and talk to each other. They raised a veggie garden and grew so many tomatoes one year they had a passata day, and people walking by would pause to sniff the heady aromas that tickled their noses. When Nonna got sick, no one noticed at first the changes in the garden. They were tiny, just the slow fading of colours. Behind the vines that now bordered the wall, the mural garden lost its lushness, the green leaching from the wall to fill the plants that livened up the courtyard. The lavender on the wall wilted while the shrubs lining the corridors thrived. And it wasn't until the passing of Nonna that they realised that the mural had gone as well. All that was left behind was a pale outline of the most beautiful magnolia tree. But it was enough. Enough for the tenants in number 4 to carefully move the vines back to preserve the tree. People called to neighbours, to tenants, past tenants, and people brought out photos of the garden, and slowly they brought it back to life. ever aware of the sacrifices and love that Nonna had made and shared to 9 other families. People she didn't know, but who became so much to her and her to them. Today's episode of Three Corners was produced by our maestro, Posty, and featured the spotlight tones of me. For more stories, go to hittheroadjack.com.au or subscribe to the Three Corners podcast.